Just living under the same roof doesn't make you a family. Some folks live together for ages without really feeling connected, while others stay close even when they're miles apart. It's crucial to notice when there's a real connection, and remember it's never too late to focus on it. You can always make a fresh start. I'm Stanley Johnson, and I've been working at the same company for a long time. Now, I'm getting ready to retire. My father-in-law used to be the CEO, and now my brother's the vice president. I'm thinking about maybe working a bit even after I retire. But since we don't have kids and we've saved up enough, I figured it would be good to finally spend some quality time with my wife. A while back, before I was about to turn 60, my wife Jenny asked me if I'd be up for keeping my executive role even after retiring. I told Jenny I thought it was time to call it a day at work and start enjoying our golden years. Jenny seemed totally taken aback and wondered if I was serious about retiring now. I told her we had plenty of savings to retire comfortably, and I wanted us to take it easy. Let's make the most of our time together, I said, but before I could even ask if she was on board with the plan, she cut me off. Jenny flat out said no to the idea of us retiring together, telling me that hanging out with me isn't fun. That really threw me for a loop. Jenny's words hit me like a ton of bricks. Could she really feel that being with me was so unpleasant? Sure, her dad, the ex-CEO, took a shine to me, and our marriage was more arranged than spontaneous, but Jenny has always been precious to me. I dedicated years to her father's company, and despite us not having kids, I believed our bond was solid. Love can evolve with age, with couples sometimes growing apart, finding different hobbies. Our chats had become less frequent, but I still sensed a deep connection between us. Yet Jenny seemed convinced we were different from most couples. Right from the start, she figured I wasn't really into her, and that I only married her because her dad thought it was a good match. She felt left out, with me buried in work and not keeping the home fires burning. She let her frustration spill out, leaving me speechless. After a pause, she dropped the bombshell. If you kept working, that'd be one thing. But the thought of just hanging around with you, getting no peace, being bored out of my mind, and dreading even seeing you is too much. I want a divorce. I couldn't believe she was serious. Jenny's gaze was dead. My retirement dreams were now cooling off fast. I'd planned to quit the job as soon as I hit retirement age, but now I was second-guessing, wondering if I should keep working just to keep Jenny happy. But she was dead serious, unwavering in her decision. Lost in her thoughts and clearly impatient, Jenny declared, "All right, let's get a divorce." She stormed off to her room, leaving me alone with my thoughts in the living room. I stood there, trying to piece together where things went wrong. The next morning, Jenny was gone, really gone. I had hoped a little space might mend things, but it seemed to have made them worse. I was left wondering where my life was headed. Had I misunderstood everything all along? Jenny's words left me in a state of disbelief. I can't go back in time, and the regret is crushing. I always thought I was working hard for us, for Jenny, at the company, but she's seen our marriage as just a contract from the beginning. That realization fills me with regret, shock, and a sense of hopelessness that saps my will to do anything. Work hours come and go, but I can't bring myself to head to the office. Instead, I just sit and stare blankly at the wall. My cell phone keeps ringing, but I can't find the energy to pick it up. Then the house phone starts. I let it ring out to voicemail, and the message plays out loud. It's my secretary, sounding surprised that I'm not at work and that I didn't pick up. The CEO has told me to take my remaining paid leave until my retirement date kicks in. They say everything at work will be handled, and I should just take it easy. That's the gist of the message. Maybe Jenny told the CEO, who's also my father-in-law, about our split I wonder for a moment if he sees me the way Jenny does, but I shake off the thought. I hoped I'd start to feel a bit better with time, but that hasn't happened. I'm just living day to day, devoid of any drive. The divorce papers from Jenny arrive in the mail, followed by documents from my lawyer about splitting our assets, and then the official paper from the company about my retirement because of age. It's my birthday, of all days. I feel like I should say something to the CEO, who's also my brother-in-law. Despite feeling drained, I let the company know I'm coming and drag myself there. They usher me straight into the CEO's office. He's smiling broadly as usual, but his eyes don't match the smile. After thanking me for my years of hard work, he just says, "Well done." Then he adds that Jenny's looking forward to the next chapter of her life, and that it's good for both of us. I can't quite grasp what he means by good for both of us. Did my family always think Jenny and I weren't happy together? As I left the company, the speed of my exit felt surreal. I stumbled out of the CEO's office, my legs suddenly weak. I found myself sitting on the floor, lost in thought, unsure how much time had passed. That's when the cleaning lady saw me. Recognizing me as an executive, she came over, concerned. "Are you all right?" she asked. She suggested we move somewhere more private, mentioning that the back rooms were empty at this time. She offered her arm, and I let her guide me, not really caring where we went, just grateful for the support. We made our way to the restroom, where she pulled up a chair for me and stayed by my side. She introduced herself as Rebecca Brown. I managed to say, "I'm Stanley Johnson, Vice President," and then quickly added, "Well, I was. Today's my last day. I'm retiring." Rebecca repeated my name, a look of recognition crossing her face, and then she asked if I was in good health, if I had any chronic conditions. Since Jenny left, I admitted, I'd mostly been at home, away from people. Rebecca's kindness touched something in me, and I found myself tearing up. It struck me that I might never see her again. In a moment of vulnerability, I opened up to her, a stranger. Maybe I'd always just needed someone to listen, to ask if I was okay, if I'd done something wrong. She listened quietly to my outpouring. Then she shared that she too had been through a divorce. I felt a strange sense of relief, perhaps from our shared experience, or simply because I had finally spoken up. As the evening drew in, I knew it was time to leave, but the thought of returning to a home filled with memories of Jenny made me hesitate. Rebecca's offer to let me stay with her caught me off guard. Her casual approach to such an unusual situation was surprising. She insisted that I didn't have to push myself to go back to a place that was no longer mine, and that staying with her was perfectly okay. It's not every day that two strangers decide to live together just like that. It seemed Rebecca might see me in a paternal light, or perhaps she was just being kind. There was no romantic intention between us. My house, now soon to be sold due to the divorce settlement, felt less and less like. The thought of going back there filled me with a sense of dread, so I couldn't make myself do it. With some hesitation, I accepted Rebecca's offer. She lived in a modest apartment not far from her work. She showed me a photo of her young son, explaining that she keeps him with her mother in the village while she earns a living in the city, sending money back to support them. Rebecca's strength as a single mother struck a chord with me. It highlighted the resilience of women, particularly mothers. Her routine was grueling. Out early in the morning and back late at night, sometimes sneaking in a quick nap before starting her daily chores again. She preferred cleaning when the office was empty, either early in the morning or late after. Our cohabitation was marked by an odd rhythm. We were like ships passing in the night. Despite having savings, I felt uncomfortable just staying there and not contributing. Seeing Rebecca work tirelessly from dawn till dusk, I was moved to do something in return. I began to cook meals for her, using ingredients I brought from my own pantry or purchasing fresh groceries. I wasn't sure how good the food was, but I hoped it would at least give her a little more time to rest. Adjusting to my new role as a household contributor was a novel experience for me, since Jenny had always managed our domestic life. My culinary attempts were far from chef specials, but they were certainly fit to eat. Rebecca's delight at coming home to a cooked meal was evident, and her appreciation for my efforts warmed my heart, encouraging me to take on more chores around the house. Rebecca's bi-monthly visits to her family reminded me of the depth of a mother's concern for her child. During those quiet moments alone, I often found myself reflecting on my own past, tracing the path that led to the unraveling of my marriage with Jenny. I remembered a time in college, before the weight of career and responsibility, when I was in love with Brittany, a young artist with a bright spirit. But as I moved to the city and got caught up in the chase for success, my former boss's introduction to Jenny seemed like a strategic move for my future. And in the pursuit of ambition, I chose to marry the boss's daughter. Brittany's hesitation upon hearing about my engagement to Jenny was the final crack in our relationship, leading to our breakup. Now, as I ponder over the what-ifs of marrying Brittany, I realize it's an exercise in futility. Yet there's a part of me that holds onto the hope of meeting her again one day. Robin, Rebecca's son, brought a new dynamic during his visit. Despite his upbringing in a rural setting with his grandmother, he easily adapted to the urban environment and even addressed me as uncle, which I found both amusing and in observing the bond between Rebecca and Robin. I could see the shared concern that naturally exists between parent and child, a universal thread that connects families, regardless of their circumstances. The simple, everyday interactions and shared responsibilities with Rebecca and her son Robin revealed to me what a family's warmth truly felt like, something that had been missing in my marriage with Jenny. This realization brought me to a place of acceptance, perhaps even peace, with the divorce. It helped me understand that some paths are meant to diverge, and that clinging to what was lost is not always the way to happiness. Living with Rebecca for a year, taking on part-time work, and focusing on healing both physically and emotionally, I've been able to reconcile with my past. The pain of memories has lessened, and I've begun to see a future beyond my previous life with Jenny, the city, which once represented my life's work and marriage, now feels less like a home and more like a waypoint on my journey. The pull of my childhood home grew stronger as I reflected on my past, the times with my parents and my days with Brittany. It was a longing for roots, for a connection to a simpler, perhaps more authentic self. When I shared these feelings with Rebecca, she surprised me once again by suggesting that I should indeed follow that instinct to return. Rebecca's revelation about her son's scholarship and her having achieved her goal left me wondering about her own aspirations and dreams. What had she been working towards all these years? Then, in a twist that seemed almost fated, Rebecca and I found ourselves leaving the city together, bound for our respective hometowns. The journey was quiet, reflective, as the train whisked us through the changing landscapes that framed our shared route. As we neared Rebecca's stop, the anticipation was palpable. Robin's presence on the platform, his excitement and love for his mother, was a poignant scene. Watching Rebecca reunite with her son, their embrace a testament to the sacrifices and love of a parent, I felt a stirring of hope. Rebecca's new chapter was beginning with her son, and mine was waiting for me, just a few stops away. The train ride had been a bridge from one life to another, and as I bid farewell to Rebecca and Robin, I knew that, despite the uncertainty, I was moving towards rediscovering parts of myself that had been lost in the pursuit of success and in the shadow of a marriage that wasn't meant to be. Stepping off the train at my hometown, the air felt different, filled with the echoes of my youth and the possibility of new beginnings. It was time to reconnect with my roots and perhaps, in the process, find a new direction for the days ahead. The revelation that Rebecca was my daughter and Brittany was her mother was a staggering twist in my life's narrative. The recognition of my past love, aged yet familiar, was like a piece of my history coming back. And there, in the company of Robin and the elderly woman, who must be Brittany's mother, I greeted them, my mind reeling with the weight of this newfound truth. Brittany's calm demeanor suggested that she had anticipated this meeting. The fact that Rebecca was my child, born shortly before I began my career and entered into a marriage of convenience with Jenny, was a startling revelation. Brittany had carried this secret alone, deciding against adding to my burdens as I embarked on a life that I thought was set to secure my future. The sacrifice Brittany made to raise Rebecca without my knowledge or assistance was a testament to her strength. She had chosen a path of independence, raising our daughter with the help of her parents and building a life as an art. Rebecca's quest to understand her origins, to piece together the story of her birth and her parents' history, had driven her to seek me out. Her determination to provide for her son's education and the serendipitous encounter at the company where I had been working part-time seemed like strokes of fate. The fact that she had been searching for me without even knowing my last name added layers of missed connections. And almost to our story, she had taken a chance on a stranger who bore a resemblance to a photograph her mother had kept, and that chance had led to the unraveling of our intertwined histories. As I processed the information, the reality that I had a daughter, a granddaughter, and a past love standing before me, a mix of emotions flooded through me. Regret for the years lost, joy for the family discovered, and a profound sense of wonder at the unpredictable nature of life. The ties of blood and the bonds of shared history were suddenly very real and present. I had unknowingly lived a year with my own daughter, supporting her as a friend, when she had been the very family I had longed for. The future was uncertain, but it was no longer an empty canvas. It was rich with the potential of reconnection and the rediscovery of a family I never knew I had, and the flood of emotions that came with the revelations was overwhelming. Guilt for the past decisions, regret for the missed years, and a deep sorrow for the hardships Brittany faced raising Rebecca alone. Their apology, heartfelt and sincere, was met with an unexpected grace from Brittany. She had made peace with her choices and had carried no expectation of your return into her life. Her forgiveness was a gift, one that offered a chance at redemption and a new beginning. Brittany's revelation that she still harbored love for you after all these years, and her willingness to become a family, was a testament to the enduring nature of her feelings. The fact that she had deliberated on this decision since learning of your encounter with Rebecca showed the depth of her consideration. Her readiness to raise Rebecca together was an invitation to step into the role you had unknowingly vacated so long. Your promise to cherish Brittany and your newfound family was a commitment to a future you once thought was lost. The warmth of being needed, of having a place within a family, was a stark contrast to the solitude that had marked your retirement. 6 months later, the house that once belonged to your parents became a home filled with life and love, accommodating 3 generations. The initial awkwardness of your sudden integration into the family was a small hurdle in the face of the joy and eagerness to build new relationships. The journey ahead would be one of patience, understanding, and love. Perfection wasn't the goal, connection was. And with time, you all would weave the individual threads of your lives into a tapestry rich with shared experiences and mutual affection. Looking forward to becoming a family, you now had the opportunity to create a new legacy, one that could heal the wounds of the past and foster bonds that would endure for years to come. The future was no longer a solitary path, but a shared journey with Brittany, Rebecca, Robin, and the memories you were yet to make.